Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
The murder of child beauty queen JonBenet Ramsey captivated the nation nearly 20 years ago today.
Dr. Phil's television exclusive with Burke Ramsey continues.
What's your name? Are you Happy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God!
There's a lot of debate about where you were when that 911 call was made.
What took place on that tape has led to some of the conspiracy theories.
Police investigators say your voice was heard saying, "What did you find?" Did you speak those words?
Autopsy results did find undigested pineapple in JonBenet's stomach.
Did you and she eat pineapple together at any time during the day?
Maybe.
The lead investigator says one of the reasons that he believes that you are the culprit here is that on the day of your sister's murder, you never asked about her welfare.
Plus,
what did JonBenet's young brother reveal to investigators?
The police did talk to Burke, unbeknownst to the Ramsey family.
It's been 20 years. What I'd like to do is show you some footage from that interview. Nobody in the world has seen this before.
the never-before-seen interrogation tapes of Burke Ramsey.
This was 13 days after JonBenet's murder.
So what do you think happened to your sister? I think someone took her very quietly.
Now, Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues from Boulder, Colorado.
The mystery of who killed 6-year-old pageant queen JonBenet Ramsey on Christmas night in 1996 is still an unsolved mystery after 20 years. The little girl's body was found wrapped in a blanket in the basement of her family's home here in Boulder, Colorado. The house is now hidden with trees, but the haunting memories still remain in the forefront of America's mind. The Ramsey family insisted there was a killer on the loose, but the Boulder police didn't look far. They believed the killer was someone inside this home, someone in the Ramsey family. There were 3 people known to be in this house on the night JonBenet was murdered. Only one has never spoken publicly. Today, JonBenet's older brother, Burke Ramsey, reveals more details about what he says happened the night his sister was murdered. Did you go to JonBenet's funeral?
Yeah. Yep.
The body of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was laid to rest in Atlanta today, but the mystery surrounding her strangulation is far from over.
Yeah, I remember the viewing. I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit like droopy or something, and I thought that was weird.
How did you feel seeing her?
A lot of sadness. I don't think I really fully grasped, like, after this I won't see her again. I remember my parents being really upset. Like, I remember my dad leaning down and giving her a kiss.
Did you have anything to say to her when you saw her in her casket?
I just kind of stood there, I guess, in kind of disbelief. Or I don't remember if I put anything in it.
Was it traumatizing to see her?
That was weird. That was traumatizing a little bit. Like, had I ever been to a funeral before, period? I'm not sure.
Who was with you when you were standing and viewing her?
Me and my mom and my dad.
How were they behaving?
You could tell my dad loved my sister a lot, and they were both crying, just saying goodbye, I guess.
In the days after the funeral, as a 9-year-old watching your parents go through this, were you concerned about your mother?
I don't think I was thinking about it that in depth. I think I was just wanting people to be not sad, but she would cry and cry, and then I think she would like maybe fall asleep or something, and then she'd start crying again. They'd tell me to come upstairs and comfort her.
While the police cannot force someone to talk, there are several key people investigators would like to question.
Tops on the list, John and Patsy Ramsey, as well as their son Burke. All 3 talked with detectives early in the investigation, but recently they refused to take any more questions. Questions the police want answered.
During the course of this case, we can point to many things that the Ramseys did wrong, but you can also point at horrible things that the police did. You know, within a day or 2 after this tragic death, John Ramsey, who has every right to take the body of his daughter back to Atlanta and bury her, But the police hadn't gotten the type of interviews that they felt they wanted, or maybe should have had. So the head of the detectives, John Eller, threatens and says, I'm not going to release the body unless you give me the interviews. The district attorney, Alex Hunter, almost killed him. You know, constitutionally, he can't do it. This is exactly the problems that started to build between the police and the Ramseys, which made the Ramseys more defensive, made the police more aggressive, and in the middle of it is Alex Hunter and his team trying to figure out, is there probable cause? Were the Ramseys involved?
America is suffering because they have lost faith in the American family.
You went on CNN with Patsy, and how did that go?
That was the last thing that we wanted to do, but our friends were really pressuring us to do that. They saw this tide flowing against us and this swelling of suspicion, I guess, and they said, no, you've got to do an interview, you've got to go on television, you've got to show who you are, and that'll stop this.
I will tell my friends to keep your babies close to you. There's someone out there.
As you look back on that, was that a mistake?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, for several reasons. One, it served no purpose. We're I'm sure in a state of shock. And secondly, once you participate in the public arena, you become a public figure.
Nearly a week later, crime scene investigators are still combing through the home. Police haven't named any suspects, but curiously they are saying that the public at large is not in any danger, that there is not a random killer on the loose.
It didn't help the Ramseys' image that they stopped cooperating with the police. The police went public right after the first CNN interview that John and Patsy gave.
There's someone out there.
There's a bad guy out there roaming the streets. It wasn't convincing. And the police had a press conference and said, don't worry, there's no bad guy out there.
People in Boulder have no need to fear that there is someone wandering the streets of Boulder looking for young children to attack.
It was easier for people to believe the Ramseys were involved because that meant there is no bad guy walking around.
Are you aware of these different theories that are out there? Theories that you killed your sister, theories that your mother killed JonBenet, and theories that an intruder killed JonBenet. Those seem to be the three camps that people talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we were suspects. I didn't know they were camps, I guess.
And these are people that post online. The shorthand is RDI, Ramsey did it, IDI, the intruder did it, or BDI, Burke did it. Do you know the theories that they set forth in saying that your mom killed JonBenet?
I don't know the details, but I know the ransom note, they think the handwriting matched.
Have you seen it? Have you read it?
I don't think I've read the whole thing. I've definitely seen pictures of it, though.
Did the handwriting look familiar to you at all? Had you seen it ever before?
No. I feel like the listen carefully is very distinct, and I've never really seen that. I don't know, I've never really looked at it closely because I'll see it and kind of get taken aback, and it's not something I really want to look at like a lot, you know?
Right. Does that look like her handwriting?
Honestly, looking at that, she would always bug me about having good handwriting, and she would like make me rewrite stuff to try to get me to have good handwriting, and I think it's too sloppy.
The police became convinced very quickly that either both of the Ramseys or one of them was responsible for this, and that Patsy wrote the ransom note.
Sources also say the writer of the note appeared to have been a woman, and there was deception in the printing style. Certain letters were also disguised in what sources say was an attempt to confuse police. The father has been ruled out as the author of the note, but police have requested a fifth handwriting sample from the mother of JonBenet.
Now I'm going to ask you to look at the handwriting beneath the document, and I'm going to ask you if you recognize that handwriting.
I do not.
Could it be your wife's handwriting?
I don't recognize it. It doesn't look like Patsy's writing. It's sloppy. It's irregular. I would not look at that and say that's Patsy's handwriting.
Thank you.
Patsy Ramsey gives a handwriting sample. Patsy cannot be 100% excluded, but they can't prove it's her handwriting. And that, of course, makes the police even more suspicious.
The law enforcement handwriting experts had concluded that on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being elimination, didn't write it, Patsy Ramsey was scored at between 4 and 4.5, virtually eliminated. But they couldn't eliminate her. They should have, but they couldn't, because if you eliminate Patsy, then you have totally blown out of the water the Boulder Police Department's theory that they went with, that it had to be John. Nope, we decided it's not John, so it must have been Patsy.
My theory is quite simple. Whoever authored the ransom note killed the child.
Your contention is she wrote the note?
I do.
You must have conjured something in your head for you to come out and call me a murderer of my child.
The police believed that Patsy lost her temper with JonBenet in the middle of the night when she wet the bed.
Somebody gets upset over bedwetting. That's one of the things that's been proposed.
And that Patsy threw her against a hard surface in the bathroom, fracturing her skull. Then she got scared, and she took her down to the basement and staged a sex crime, and because she wasn't dead yet, finished her off by strangulation. Covered her up, then went upstairs, wrote what appeared to be a ransom note, and then at 5:30 in the morning started screaming that JonBenet was gone.
Have you heard that theory?
I've heard the cover-up part. I haven't heard the wet the bed, fit of rage thing.
What do you remember about that? About JonBenet wetting her bed or wetting her pants?
I just remember she wet her bed.
What would happen when JonBenet would wet her bed? What would Mom or Dad do?
Mom would change the sheets and all that stuff. And Dad wouldn't do anything. He had to go to work every morning.
Did JonBenet wet the bed?
Yeah, I mean, you know, did she wet the bed at 6? I don't remember. Maybe. I definitely remember, like, her and me, like, wetting the bed maybe a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, it's, you know, and I think every kid does that, and you just have to, like, you know, it'd be kind of embarrassing, but parents would just clean it up.
The police theory was that Patsy killed her daughter accidentally out of frustration.
You cannot recall a time in your life that you ever saw your mother fly into a rage.
Coming up.
There are people then and now that speculate that this woman brutally murdered her own daughter in the most ghoulish of ways that you can imagine.
And later.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat? Had you ever violently attacked her before? Did you ever sexually abuse JonBenet?
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My daughter is out of control. 13 years old, extremely provocative.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
With her family.
She's threatened you with knives.
She's defiant.
Stop it. Oh, who is you?
But has she met her match?
You want to do it again?
Sit down.
With Dr. Phil.
You can threaten them,
Good.
but I'm your worst nightmare, girl.
That's tomorrow. We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey.
Did your daughter have a bedwetting incident that night? Did you get up? Did you get angry? And did you hurt her?
No, I did not. I don't know what else to say. How else do you say no except no? No means no.
You cannot recall a time in your life that you ever saw your mother fly into a rage.
No.
Did you ever see her throw anything?
No.
Did you ever see her break anything in a fit of anger, smash anything down?
No.
Dishes, lamps?
No.
Throw anything at your father?
No.
She wasn't into corporal punishment. She didn't
No.
spank you all.
No,
She
we
didn't
never
hit
got,
you.
yeah, we didn't get spanked, just nothing of the sort, not even close. Not to say she never got upset, but nothing near like laying a finger on us, you know, let alone killing her child.
I'm appalled that anyone would think that John or I would be involved in such a hideous, heinous crime.
Patsy had an image problem, a very big one.
I love that child.
She didn't fit the image of what people thought a grieving, innocent mother of a murdered child looks like. Patsy was composed on camera, and I think it unnerved people. Why isn't she crying? Why isn't she sobbing? Factor in that they were wealthy, well-educated. Patsy was a beauty contest winner. They had it all. When it was revealed that JonBenet was in beauty pageants at such a young age, and the ugly underbelly of that world was revealed, it didn't help. It made it easy, I think, for people to look at Patsy and go, uh-huh, you probably did this.
JonBenet Ramsey!
Did you go to the pageants very much?
Yeah. I mean, I remember like one of the pageant things or something, she just like go out and just like, you know, like flaunt whatever on stage, and she wasn't shy, I guess.
Right. Did you feel left out of that, or was that okay with you?
No, it was totally fine. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my mom too.
Did your mother have fun with this, or was she a stage mom?
I think she had fun with it. I mean, she did pageants. She was like Miss West Virginia. So I think it was kind of a fun thing.
Was she a pushy type, or did she go with the flow?
I don't remember her being bushy at all.
Yeah. Little girls sometimes get lots of attention.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like she got all the attention?
No, it was never an issue. I mean, it's just normal to me.
JonBenet enjoys painting, ceramics, drawing, and rollerblading.
There are people then and now still that speculate that this woman killed her own daughter. Not just killed her own daughter, but brutally murdered her own daughter in the most ghoulish of ways that you can imagine.
People that think that show a profound lack of common sense. It makes me angry. I mean, particularly makes me angry now that Patsy's gone. She has no ability to fight for her reputation. It's cruel humanity.
If I told you right now that we have trace evidence that appears to link you to the death of JonBenet, what would you tell me?
The police drew a bead, which means pointing their metaphorical guns at her pretty quickly. They were absolutely convinced that Patsy must be the killer.
Let me change the subject now and kind of transition back to that morning. It was during that time that your mother made a 911 call.
What's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God!
Have you ever heard that 911 call?
Oh, it's been brought up a bunch of times because they think I'm on it or something.
Police investigators say that your voice was heard at the end of the 911 call. Were you there when that call was made?
We're identical twins. We're both anorexics and bulimic.
You get out here and you say, we want money for all of this. I told the producers to send you home. I can't help your girls if you get in the way. The best gift you can give your daughters
is get them the hell out of her house.
You're encouraging your kids to run away?
No, you guys didn't play the evidence. That's bull.
Put the damn thing up. I'm calling bull on your bull.
My daughter is out of control. 13 years old, extremely provocative.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
She had a knife. Would you want me to stab you?
You're such a actress.
Hey, watch your mouth. She's 74 years old.
I don't care if she was 90.
missing for 6 years.
Kyron's stepmother was the last known person to see the second grader.
I believe that Terry Horman knows where Kyron is.
Now,
You lied to the media.
Yes, because I was told to.
the exclusive interview.
Tell me why it's taken this long for you to speak out about this.
Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues.
Few crimes in recent memory have captivated and horrified the entire nation like that involving JonBenet Ramsey. She was found murdered in her home in December 1996.
A key piece of evidence is the 911 call that Patsy Ramsey made to police at 5:52 a.m. on December 26, 1996.
Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Have you ever heard that 911 call?
Oh, it's been brought up a bunch of times because they think I'm on it or something.
John says, call 911, and of course Patsy goes and grabs the phone and calls 911. But when she hung it up, she thought she had hung it up completely, and months later the police discovered there were other voices heard. Now, those voices have come into somewhat dispute. Some people say they hear Burke's voice, in the distance.
It was 5:52 a.m. when Patsy Ramsey made the 911 call from this wall phone in her kitchen to report her daughter was missing.
Patsy, Patsy, Patsy.
Just what happened after Patsy hung up the phone has been debated in law enforcement circles. One former Boulder police detective, Steve Thomas, believes after Patsy hung up, the phone didn't really disconnect. In his book, JonBenet, Inside the Ramsey Murder Investigation, Thomas claimed that by enhancing the tape, you could hear John and Patsy talking to their son Burke. He claims that's important because the Ramseys reportedly told police their son was asleep at the time of the call. If true, Thomas claims it suggests the family was altering their story right from the start.
Where were you when that phone call was made?
It's in my bed.
How do you know?
I don't remember getting up until my dad came in there.
Was Burke in the kitchen when that 911 call was made?
No.
Where was Burke when the 911 call was made?
Well, we checked his bedroom immediately almost in all this chaos, and he was asleep in bed. That is pure fiction.
I just had laid in bed with my eyes open and so thinking of what might have happened.
Did you hear Mom and Dad talk?
I sure Mom like going psycho.
Going psycho?
Yeah, like full like,
Did you go down and see what was going on?
Stay in bed.
Patsy, Patsy.
There was a male voice, and I knew that for sure. And then there was another voice. So there were three different voices. The third one was a little bit more faint, but I knew there was a third distinct, different voice.
Was there any conversation immediately following your last word to the dispatcher?
I don't remember. I was out of my mind. My child was missing.
Former police investigators with the Boulder Police Department, Detective Steve Thomas and Chief of Police Mark Beckner, both say there was a voice at the end of the 911 call, and that your voice was heard saying, "What did you find?" Did you speak those words?
No.
Were you there when that call was made?
No.
So you were not there and you did not speak those words?
That's correct.
It's also been speculated that your father can be heard yelling, "We're not speaking to you."
Definitely don't remember that. I don't know, unless someone erased my memory or something.
Well, a 911 call with your mother hysterical about your sister being kidnapped would seem to me to be a standout experience in one's life. I wouldn't think that would fade into the background.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's something pretty big that I wouldn't remember, so I wasn't there.
So you can say with absolute certainty that is not your voice on that 911 tape?
Absolutely not.
You went to see a child psychologist. Do you recall that?
Coming up.
Nobody in the world has seen this before. This was 13 days after JonBenet's murder.
What do you think happened to your sister? I think someone took her very quietly.
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey.
JonBenet's little 10-year-old brother is also in the spotlight. Neither John or Patsy Ramsey have submitted to an official police interrogation, but a statement from young Burke Ramsey is now said to be part of the official record. 10-year-old Burke was videotaped recently as he was interviewed by a Department of Social Services approved psychiatrist.
You went to see a child psychologist. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
You supposedly were asked to draw a picture of your family. You said you drew a picture of yourself and your mom and your dad, but you didn't draw JonBenet. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Unbeknownst to the Ramsey family, the police went in to where Burke was staying with a relative and told the relative that the Ramseys had given them permission to interview Burke. It's an absolute lie.
We came up here because we wanted to look at some tape and kind of get your reactions to some of these things. This was 13 days after JonBenet's murder. Nobody in the world has seen this before.
Well, let's take a break, Mandy. You can draw your picture of your family for me while you tell me about it. Can you do that for me? We can draw. But this doesn't really matter. It's not a test of your drawing. Just so I get to know your family and stuff like that. So the first person you would draw would be who?
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
A really good one.
So who's next? Who would you draw next? Mom. Okay. So what's your mom do? She work outside the house?
Work as a mom.
Work as a mom. So what do you like best about your mom? That's it? Mm-hmm. Was your mom the kind of mom that gives lots of hugs and kisses?
Yep.
Both you and your sister, or just you, or just your sister? Anybody else in your family? Are you going to talk?
Who's got me?
What about you?
This is the first time you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
When you see that, do you remember it?
Yeah. I remember the room.
Yeah.
I think I didn't know it was a psychologist.
So at the time you're 9, and the observations that were leaked to the press was that it was unusual that you felt safe, that you showed little warmth towards the family, that you displayed an enormous lack of emotion and almost an indifference, and you had difficulty opening up about the family, similar to children who feel that there are things they shouldn't say. You drew a father, a mother, yourself, that JonBenet was not in the picture at all. And you said that you were, quote, getting on with life. Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying that.
What do you think about those observations?
Watching the video, I think I look like a normal kid. I think maybe that's just my personality, is that I'm a little like reserved.
When Burke was asked to draw a picture of his family, he did exactly that. Mom, Dad, and Burke. Because that's the only family he had when he was asked to draw the picture. But it was inferred that he didn't include JonBenet because he killed her.
Did you consciously not draw JonBenet?
Coming up. Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. She's 13, out of control,
Stop it. Oh, who is you?
and something shocking happened during filming.
Danielle vanished with the keys to my crew member's car.
That's tomorrow. Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues.
Interrogation tapes of a 9-year-old Burke speaking to a psychologist at the Boulder Police Department just 13 days after JonBenet's death have been kept under lock and key for 20 years. They have never been made public, and Burke had never seen them until we watched them together. While Burke was watching the tapes, I was watching him.
So the first person you would draw would be who?
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
Did you consciously not draw JonBenet?
I don't really remember what was going through my head, but she was gone, so I didn't draw her.
There's a second clip, and you're going to talk about actually JonBenet's death to this psychologist. Take a look.
What do you think happened to your sister?
What happened to my sister? You killed?
How do you think that happened?
I think, well, I asked my dad, where did they find her body? And my dad said I found it in the basement. And so I think that someone took her very quietly and took her down the basement. And then he took her knife out. And then sent her back.
You think that's how she died?
Or maybe a hammer in her head, maybe.
What do you think you're saying there?
Well, I mean, she's asked me what happened to my sister. Like, well, she was killed, and she keeps kind of going deeper. She's like, well, like, what do you think happens? And I'm like, you know what happened? She was killed. And she asked me what I would think, and so I guess theorizing what had happened. And I think I felt a little awkward talking about it, and I think it was just something that I thought everyone knew. And so it's like, why are you asking me about this again?
Right.
Sometimes when the police feel they have figured out the timeline, something surfaces that just throws everything out the window. When the autopsy was completed, the coroner had discovered that there was undigested pineapple in JonBenet's stomach. Well, the police didn't even know there was pineapple. They went back and they started to look at all the photographs. When did JonBenet eat the pineapple? Where did she eat the pineapple?
And police discovered fingerprints on a bowl of pineapple left in the family's dining room on the morning of the murder.
The significance of the pineapple bowl. What it tells us is that it was someone that JonBenet trusted that sat down and fed her that pineapple.
Well, about 18 months later, it was June 1998, you were interviewed by the police.
What was JonBenet's favorite snack?
She has pineapple bread.
Some moms cut up apples.
Yeah,
What else would she do fruit-wise?
that's all I know. Pineapple.
Pineapple.
With the question I was asked by the police, did she eat pineapple before she went to bed when you brought her home that night? And I said, no. JonBenet went to bed. She did not eat pineapple. And I guess they thought, well, I must be lying. Therefore, I'm lying about other things.
I didn't put the bowl there, okay? I did not put the bowl there. I would not do that like
Okay,
this.
those prints belong to one of the two of you.
They did? You sure?
Fingerprints on the bowl are Patsy's, according to police, suggesting that she's the one who gave the fruit to her daughter. But if Patsy did give it to JonBenet and is lying about it, then investigators wondered, could she be lying about everything?
Do you remember drinking any iced tea around Christmas time?
Maybe like a Christmas party.
Now, how long does food normally sit out on your table?
Not very long.
But what was more interesting was that next to that bowl there was a glass of tea. And on that glass of tea was Burke's fingerprints.
Would you leave it there for a long period of time? Like, I mean, are there times when maybe the dishes don't get cleaned up right away? Or do they typically get cleaned up?
I remember specifically.
Did you and she eat pineapple together at any time during the day?
Maybe. Like, I don't remember specifically eating pineapple, but very well could have. Like, would you remember eating pineapple 20 years ago? Like, you know.
There was a flashlight and a baseball bat found at the house, and the investigators thought one of those could have caused JonBenet's head wound.
JonBenet did suffer a severe fracture, 8.5 inches along the right side of her skull. The things that could have been possibly used were maybe a metal flashlight, baseball bat. The baseball bat was found outside. It also had fibers from the carpet that was in the basement where JonBenet was found.
Did they show you either of those items?
They showed me a picture of the baseball bat, like on the side of the house or something.
Yeah.
Is there anything strange about it being out there to you? And do you find it odd that it's out there?
And that was my baseball bat. I would normally like leave it out on the patio.
So an intruder could have picked that up on the way in.
Yeah.
And I think your dad had said he used the flashlight that night to put you to bed, and then you snuck downstairs to play.
Yeah, I had some toy that I wanted to put together. I remember being downstairs after everyone was kind of in bed and wanting to get this thing out.
Did you use the flashlight so you wouldn't be seen?
I don't remember. I just remember being downstairs. I remember this toy.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat or a flashlight?
We now return to a Dr. Phil exclusive.
Some stunning new revelations about the mysterious death of a little girl, JonBenet Ramsey. Mark Beckner, who took over the case in September of '97, has given a lengthy interview on Reddit. And perhaps the biggest revelation is exactly how JonBenet actually died. We know from the evidence that she was hit in the head very hard with an unknown object, possibly a flashlight or similar type item. The blow knocked her into unconsciousness, which could have led someone to believe she was dead. The strangulation came 45 minutes to 2 hours after the head strike.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat or a flashlight?
Absolutely not.
If someone in your house did, do you think you would have heard it?
Probably. Yeah.
There was a book written by the lead investigator in this case that set forth some of his theories. He says one of the reasons that he believes that you are the culprit here is that on the day of your sister's murder, you never ask about her welfare.
Well, it was pretty much just, hey, we can't find your sister. What do you think happened? And I was like, well, she's probably just hiding somewhere. Like, you guys looked around the house. The next time I talked to somebody, she's dead.
When did you really find out that JonBenet was dead?
I was at Bernie's house, and I saw him was sad. And my dad told me that JonBenet didn't have him.
What did you do?
Started crying.
I think people are reacting to the fact that you seem to be unbothered by all of this.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you I was very emotional at the Fernies, and I would just randomly cry out of nowhere. I guess it's a combination of sitting in there with this weird guy that I'd never talked to before and asking me all these personal questions. It's a combination of that and just kind of, at some point you have to move on, and I'm not saying I moved on then. It might have been kind of the other end, as I didn't really get it, but you got to stop crying at some point, I guess.
So the lead investigator thinks you're the culprit because you had previously been violent with JonBenet. Had you ever violently attacked your sister?
No.
Did you hit your sister with a golf club?
Coming up.
JonBenet Ramsey was sexually assaulted rather brutally on the night of the murder.
Let me ask you just straight up. Did you ever sexually abuse JonBenet? Ready to get real? Go to drphil.com for advice on relationships, parenting, finances, and more. Plus, weigh in on your favorite episodes, share your stories, and find support in the Dr. Phil community. When you sign up for the community, you will automatically be subscribed to the Dr. Phil Show newsletter. Log on to drphil.com today.
And he was out there with the little wiffle ball, golf ball. And she walked up behind me about that time and clipped her around the cheek.
Okay.
And she screamed bloody murder.
Did you hit your sister with a golf club?
Not on purpose. She was standing behind me and I went like that.
So you accidentally clipped her in the cheek, I believe it was?
Something like that, yeah.
On your backswing?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that on purpose?
No, absolutely not.
Did you intentionally hit JonBenet in the head with a golf club?
No.
There was some theory that someone had used a stun gun on her. was that the spread of the marks that they were alleging might be a stun gun were actually the ends of train tracks that might have been poked into her. You had a train set at home, right?
Yep.
Did you ever hit her with it? Did you ever hit her with the train tracks?
No.
Did you ever poke her with the train tracks?
The moment you said that, I was like, how would I even do that? Like,
yeah.
I never did anything like that.
The autopsy did not identify that your sister was sexually abused, but experts that have analyzed it said it was possible. Did you ever have any knowledge or suspicion that JonBenet had been sexually abused or molested in any way?
No.
This wasn't anything you'd ever heard, thought of, suspected? She never said anything to you? You never saw anything that...
Absolutely nothing that would lead me to believe that anybody was sexually abusing her in any way.
Let me ask you just straight up. Did you ever sexually abuse JonBenet?
No, absolutely not.
Let's clear this up once and for all. Did you do anything to harm your sister? Did you murder your sister, JonBenet? Next week, Burke answers the questions that have been haunting him for years. Take a look.
New details of the infamous cold case. Colorado police want to speak to JonBenet's now adult brother, Burke.
Why do you suppose more than a decade later, they're knocking on your door wanting to talk to you again?
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
This is my final interview.
Who killed JonBenet Ramsey?
My child was murdered on Christmas night. Don't ever forget it.
People have made a big issue out of the date that you put on the tombstone. What do you say to people that say you put the 25th because you knew when she died?
That's Monday.
You do not want to miss that when our series continues on Monday, September 19th. I want to thank CBS 48 Hours for their archival footage. For more information, please log on to drphil.com. From Boulder, Colorado, thanks for watching.